Curse Technique Reversal, an ability that literally only exists to make Gojo look even cooler and to save Kenjaku's ass from falling into a black hole. Now the sad part is, that's not even a joke. Red and Gravity are genuinely the only reversal techniques we have ever seen. So in true Allons-Y fashion, I got tired of waiting for Gege to add more and just decided to create them myself. So I chose a handful of the most popular techniques in Jujutsukaisen and gave them all a totally balanced reversal technique. Now I gotta be honest with you guys, a lot of the time it feels like some of you read a totally different manga to me, so I want to very briefly explain what a reversal technique actually is. Don't worry if you're still a bit confused though, because it is an incredibly complicated concept to grasp. Basically, curse technique reversal is when you take your curse technique and then reverse it.
Well, no fucking shit.
As Gojo showed us in his backstory arc, you must learn RCT in order to unlock your reversal technique. Now Gojo's reversal was a particularly complicated case where he reversed his pull to make it push, aka red. Yeah, like I said, it's very complex stuff, you know, so don't worry if it's a bit confusing and it all gets a bit too much, alright? I get it. Now for the 99% of you guys who actually have brains, I'm sure you already know all of this and just want to see what I've cooked up for the remaining special grades. So without any further yap, let's get straight into revealing the best unseen reversal techniques in Jujutsukaisen. Okay, we're gonna start things off with my absolute GOAT Yuta Okkotsu. And yes, I am aware that I've been glazing Yuta a lot recently, but don't worry, I'm gonna keep this one nice and brief so we can move on to the really crazy ones like Hakari and Yuji. It's actually very simple. Yuta's curse technique is copy, so I decided that his curse technique reversal should obviously be paste. In fact, it actually functions very similarly to a certain My Hero villain whose name rhymes with, I don't know, Call for None. When Yuta begins his 5-minute connection to Rika, he will use her endless supply of cursed energy to reverse his copy technique. When using curse technique reversal, Yuta can actually paste one of his copied abilities onto his allies. An ally can only have one curse technique pasted on them at one time, although during that 5 minutes, Yuta can actually recall the pasted technique and replace it with a different one. Yuta can still use copy as normal, but he will not be able to use any techniques that he has pasted on his allies. He can also give multiple allies techniques, but again, each sorcerer will need to be given a different one. Once the 5 minutes ends, all of the pasted techniques are then returned to Rika's storage for use at another time. And yes, I am fully aware of how strong this ability is, hence why I imposed so many rules and restrictions. I mean, if it wasn't for those restrictions, then Yuta could just have 5 people walking around with Jacob's ladder, and if that was the case, then dear old Tsukiwuki would be royally fucked. It is still unbelievably strong though, don't get me wrong. Like, he could just fully give Shrine to Jackpot Hakari for 5 minutes straight. Or even better, he could just give Yuji Charles' clairvoyance. I mean, imagine you have to fight the Black Flash demon Yuji Itadori, but he can also see into the future. I mean, he might as well have future sight observation haki. And on top of all of that, you'll have Yuta next to him, screaming at you to throw it back, and then Hakari next to him, chucking dismantles at you like it's nothing. Now, if you think Yuta's reversal technique was crazy, then you might not be ready for the next one, so make sure to lock in. Okay, next up, I am going to be explaining my genius idea for Hakari's curse technique reversal. Of course, Hakari needs to figure out how to use reverse curse technique in base before he can actually use curse technique reversal, but I am not gonna let the fact that Hakari is a complete spanner ruin my video, so just please pretend that he can. Now, because Hakari's domain naturally comes with his curse technique, it should mean that his curse technique reversal can be easily applied to the domain. When using curse technique reversal, Hakari will expand his domain as normal, but instead of it being called Idle Death Gamble, it's gonna be called Idle Death Scammer. The rules are gonna be the exact same as normal, it is just a normal pachinko machine. However, this time the opponents in the domain are also forced to play. Now, because of Hakari's gambling nature, I made sure to keep the idea of having good and bad outcomes. Basically, both Hakari and his opponent will start spinning. If Hakari's opponent somehow lands a jackpot first, then they gain infinite cursed energy and immortality instead of Hakari. However, if Hakari gets a jackpot first, he still will not get his normal infinite cursed energy buff. Instead, his opponent will suffer the consequences and receive a ban on their cursed energy for 4 minutes and 11 seconds. That means base Hakari has 4 minutes and 11 seconds to beat the crap out of a helpless, powerless cripple in order to win. And I think we can all agree Hakari is capable of that, even though he has not been doing too well recently. Obviously, this does sound completely broken, and that's because it is. Reversal techniques are incredibly rare and hard to gain, but they also are just stronger. I mean, Gojo Gojo's reversal red is literally 2 times the cursed energy output of blue, and blue one-shot Agito, so it's no joke. Despite how strong Idol Death Scammer is though, it does come with some serious risks. If Hakari does somehow lose, he will be stuck in base fighting an opponent with infinite cursed energy and healing. Now obviously the house always wins, but a risk is a risk all the same. Also, if Hakari doesn't totally incapacitate or kill his opponent while their cursed energy is banned, then he may struggle once their cursed energy recovers, especially if they're a good RCT user like Arame. Not getting the infinite cursed energy and healing buff will mean that his domain causes him to burn out of his curse technique and will drain his base cursed energy, just like everybody else in the verse. So he has to be willing to kill if he chooses to use this technique. Right, next up we have Yuki Tsukumo. My idea for Yuki's reversal technique is called Exotic Rage, and unlike Hakari's, it's very simple. Well, I say very simple, what I actually mean is it starts very simple and then gets really oh, whatever, do you know what? You're just gonna find out. Yuki's normal curse technique is called Star Rage, and it basically just allows her to add virtual mass to herself. Up to a certain point, this added mass does not actually affect her body in any way, meaning she can move normally and hit like a f***ing truck. In theory though, she could go past that limit anytime she wants, which turns her body into a solar system destroying black hole with infinite mass. So given all of this, how exactly would the reversal technique work? Well, if Star Rage allows Yuki to increase her mass, then it only makes sense for Exotic Rage to let her decrease her mass. See, I told you it was that simple.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, no, I lied. It's about to get a lot more complicated, so make sure you're paying attention. Using Exotic Rage, Yuki can actually lower her mass so far that it becomes negative. Exotic Rage's limit is also reversed, meaning that until a certain point, the reduced mass only affects her and not anything around her. However, once reaching a certain point, it would again start to affect herself and everything else, and that's when shit gets really scary. Before worrying about that though, I'm gonna expertly explain how Yuki would benefit from having negative mass, like the big brain physicist that I am. Now, something having negative mass is actually a scientific concept, but not something believed to actually exist. In theory though, matter with negative mass, aka exotic matter, is actually the key to light speed movement. I'm not even gonna try and explain why, but the science says it is, so just accept it. For coolness purposes, I'm also gonna say that having negative mass allows you to phase through objects. So when Yuki activates Curse Technique Reversal, she gains the ability to move at the speed of light and phase through obstacles. However, because it only affects her, it means that she also sacrifices all attack potency. It is for utility only. If you're having a hard time imagining what it would look like, just think of Admiral Kizaru's light fruit powers from One Piece. I imagine it would work pretty much the same way as that. It would definitely be useful for quick escapes and closing distances fast, but it definitely lacks offensive potential. Now, in theory, she could switch between decreasing and increasing mass in order to close distance and then deliver a devastating blow. However, this would probably drain her cursed energy and strain her brain if overused, because realistically, she just isn't built like Gojo and she doesn't have the 6 eyes. I do actually think having utility versus damage is very balanced and works very well with Star Rage. It becomes a lot less balanced though if she decreases her mass past the limit. The way scientists know exotic matter actually doesn't exist is because it would basically make all of the mass around it negative, meaning even a little bit of it would wipe out the entire universe instantly. So yeah, if she pushes past that limit to the point where it affects other things, then it would literally be a universe ender. Next up is everybody's favorite part-time main character, Yuji Itadori. For Yuji's Curse Technique Reversal though, we will actually be looking at his blood manipulation and not Shrine. And the reason for that is because we don't know the specific details of how Shrine works normally, let alone reversed. Anyway, I actually have 2 ideas for what blood manipulation's reversal could be. One of them is completely broken, and the other one is completely broken, but not as much as the first one. I gave option 1 the very familiar name of Idol Transfiguration, aka Soul Manipulation. The idea is that blood is a form of bodily control, so the reverse should be soul control, especially in a universe like JJK where the soul and body are tied together. Unlike Mahito, Yuji would not be able to manipulate other people's souls, but he could make it so that he can't be damaged unless the attack targets his soul directly. Although let's be real, this is very unlikely and it's totally busted, so let's f it off completely and look at a different outcome. The other and way more likely option for blood manipulation's reversal is blood manipulation.
What?
Instead of manipulating your own blood though, you would be capable of manipulating other people's blood. It's effectively like bloodbending from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and it is completely broken, although it would definitely have to have limited use due to how much cursed energy it would take up. Honestly, with Shrine and blood manipulation at his disposal, Yuji has so much potential. Yuji just needs to figure out what the fuck he's doing with them normally before before worrying about reversing them. Okay, I'm actually going to finish the video by quickly running through some honourable mentions that are cool but not detailed enough to make their own sections on. First off, there's Arame's curse technique reversal, which I like to call Icy Hot. Basically, they're gonna go full Todoroki and expel blue flames instead of their normal ice. Yorozu's curse technique reversal would obviously be called deconstruction as opposed to construction. Anything marked by Yorozu's curse energy can be deconstructed in any way she likes, and this works on objects and people, but good durability and cursed energy reinforcement will help prevent it. If she's up against a sorcerer like Miwa though, she could just straight up disintegrate her if she chose to. Now the main advantage of this is that the atomic structure of anything Yorozu deconstructs is now known to her, meaning that she can easily construct it in the future, because a lot of people forget that in order for Yorozu to construct something, she actually needs to know what its makeup is. Arame's curse technique reversal would be called solo accessible area because I'm getting tired now and that's the best I can think of. And in my laziness, I concluded that it would just give a nearby sorcerer a minus 40% debuff instead of buffing them. So basically she would start a dance battle with Sukuna, which would then reduce his output. And finally, we have the curse technique reversal of Kashimo's mythic beast Amber. Now instead of dying when he runs out of cursed energy, he actually drops dead as soon as he activates the technique in order to spare everyone around him the pain of watching him fight. Alright, that's all the curse technique reversals I could think of that I thought were actually worth sharing. I know I joked about Gege not showing us any more reversal techniques, but I do actually believe more are on the way very soon. I think it's a real possibility that Yuta actually learns it from Gojo when they soul swap. Since Kenjaku is the only other person we have seen use curse technique reversal in the series, it may actually have something to do with how he transfers his curse techniques when he swaps bodies. By learning curse technique reversal from Gojo, it may have actually helped Yuta to do the same in order to carry copy across and potentially extend his 5 minutes. Anyway, be sure to let me know if you enjoy this style of video and I'll try and pump out some more. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, feel free to join the Discord and follow me on Twitter, links below. Thank you guys for watching and I'll hopefully see you soon.